All right, let's jump right into a really fascinating linguistic puzzle. We're going to look at a feature in ancient text that seems to, well, it seems to write about the future by using the past tense. It's a grammatical quirk that kind of challenges our whole idea of time.
Okay, so check this out. Take a look at this quote from the book of Jude. Now, this is a prophecy, right? It's a statement about something that is supposed to happen in the future. But look at the verb he uses. The Lord came. See that? Past tense. Not will come, not is coming, but came. As if it's already a done deal.
And that really is the central mystery we're diving into. Why on earth would a prophecy, a vision of what's to come, be written like it's a memory from the past? Was it just a mistake, a bad translation, or is there something way more profound going on here?
To solve this little puzzle, we have to look past the words themselves. The clue isn't really in what's being said, but in how it's being said, and more importantly, the language it was all thought up in to begin with. It turns out this isn't an error at all. Nope, it's a feature. It's a deliberate and really powerful tool that's baked right into the DNA of Biblical Hebrew, which is the language that forms the foundation for so many of these ancient writings.
And that brings us to it's a truly mind-bending fact about this language. It's a piece of the puzzle that changes pretty much everything we assume about how languages are supposed to talk about time.
That's right, you heard me. Biblical Hebrew, the language of the prophets, doesn't actually have a dedicated future tense like we do in English. Its whole system for verbs is built around a totally different idea. Is the action finished, or is it still going on? Completed or incomplete? That's it. So this, of course, raises a huge question. If your language has no future tense, how do you make a promise or issue a warning? How do you prophesy? Well, it turns out they had a pretty ingenious solution.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. It's called the Prophetic Perfect. This is when a writer talks about something in the future, but uses a completed action verb, the past tense, to communicate that this event is so certain, so absolutely guaranteed to happen, that you can talk about it as if it's already done.
So now we know what the Prophetic Perfect is. But let's dig into why it's such a powerful tool. Because this isn't just about grammar, you see. It's about making a statement of absolute, unshakable confidence.
And it really boils down to two powerful ideas. First, you've got the prophet's point of view. They weren't just guessing about the future. In their minds, they were seeing it. It's like they were mentally transported to the event, and they're just describing what they see, like an eyewitness. And second, there's this idea of a divine guarantee. I mean, if the Almighty promises something, from the writer's perspective, its fulfillment isn't a question of if, but when. It's so certain it's as good as done.
And this quote just nails it. The scholar E.W. Bullinger put it perfectly. He said it's used to show the absolute certainty of the things spoken of. The grammar itself becomes this tool for expressing unshakable faith in what's going to happen.
Okay, so now that we understand this incredible, specific tool, you can probably start to see the huge problems that pop up when this little nuance gets lost in translation, when you take it from Hebrew and put it into a language like English, which does have a future tense.
So here's the crucial point. Translators, usually with the best intentions, they see a prophecy about the future written in the past tense, and they think, well, that's going to be super confusing for an English reader, so they correct it. They change the verb to will happen. But in doing that, they strip out that whole layer of meaning, that feeling of absolute certainty.
And what's really interesting is when you see a direct comparison like this. On the left, a translation that tries to stay true to the Hebrew says, "My people have gone into captivity." And remember, this was written before the exile. But on the right, a more common translation smooths it out to "will go." Now, they both point to a future event, but only the one on the left carries that prophetic weight, that sense of unavoidable certainty.
And this is where things get really, really important. The source material we're drawing from argues that this one little grammatical change can have massive theological consequences. It can create a huge fork in the road for how people interpret major prophecies.
And this leads us to an interpretive framework known as Preterism. In a nutshell, Preterism is the view that all those end times prophecies you read about in the Bible, they're not about our future. They were actually fulfilled way in the past, mostly around the time Jerusalem was destroyed back in 70 AD.
So the connection, as the source explains it, is pretty direct. Just imagine, if a reader comes across a prophecy written in the past tense, and they have no idea that the prophetic perfect is even a thing, what's the most logical conclusion you could draw?
that the event must have already happened, right? And this misunderstanding, the source argues, becomes a key piece of evidence for that preterist point of view.
Now, this whole concept isn't just locked away in the Old Testament. Its influence stretches right into the New Testament, and it creates some of these apparent contradictions that only really make sense once you understand the prophetic perfect.
So here's the first half of a little biblical paradox for you. In the book of Ephesians, the author tells believers that they have already been seated in heaven. It's stated as a completed fact, a done deal. But then, in another letter, that same author tells believers to seek the things above, which implies they're very much still here on earth, looking up toward heaven. So which one is it? Are they already seated up there, or are they down here still seeking it? And this just illustrates the solution so brilliantly. It's not a contradiction. That statement, "we are seated," is a classic use of the prophetic perfect. It's talking about a future promise, that guarantee of being with God, that is so certain, so unshakable, that it can be talked about as if it's already a present reality.
So, let's zoom out. Why have we spent all this time on what kind of seems like a simple grammar rule? Well, because as we've seen, it is so much more than that.
The prophetic perfect is this powerful reminder that we can't just slap our modern linguistic rules onto ancient texts and expect it all to make sense. Language isn't just a box for ideas, it actually shapes them. And to really get what these writers were trying to say, we have to try and understand the unique tools their language gave them.
And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? If a single verb tense can hide such a deep layer of meaning about certainty and perspective, it really makes you wonder what other profound concepts are just waiting there to be rediscovered, hidden in plain sight, not in the vocabulary of the past, but in its very grammar.